I've got tulips! In today's video, y'all, we are going over tulips, planting them in zone 8B to taking care of them mid-season through harvesting and taking them to market. I'm taking you from step 1 through all of them, through all the steps. We're going through them today. So be sure to watch the whole video and I'll give you some advice for growing tulips successfully in zone 8B. Hey y'all, if we're just meeting, my name is Jessie and I own Living on a Prayer flower farm, a small flower farm here in Ruston, Louisiana. This is my side hustle, definitely not my full-time job, and for the most part I enjoy doing it. But do you know what time it is? It's tulip time! Sorry, keep it down. We don't want the deer to hear because this is their favorite treat. So I've planted tulips plenty of times in the past. And what makes this time different? Well, first, I know to plant them in January for zone 8B now and not in November when everybody else is planting them. We plant them in January. I'm doing no-till this year. Normally, I dig a huge trench, get the dirt out, put the tulips in, shovel the dirt back in. My back hurts. It's a pain. Tulip fire happened. I planted about where they're not protected. Deer happened. Is this year 3? Year 3? I think. Yes, year 3 of planting tulips. And this year we're going no-till. So basically, this is my sunflower plot that's in the deer protected area. I hope it's deer protected now. And I layered more compost on top of what was already here. And now I'm putting the tulips on top of the compost, and we'll cover this with more compost. Most people use deck boarding as your sides. I'm broke. This year we are not spending money on the farm at all unless absolutely necessary. So I had these wood posts from when I first started this fence, and I'm using them to help hold the soil in. Then I'll get more compost that I've got over there and I'll shovel it on top of it. So it's no-till tulips, and this will be great compost for my sunflowers. Another thing that I'm doing different this year with my tulips is I'm not planting them all at once. We're going to see how much I can stretch these out without it resulting in short tulips. So normally I would plant all of these this weekend and then let them go. But normally they're blooming before I can even have any other flowers to really go with them, and I really struggle. So this year we're planting these. Today is January 7th. We're going to plant some more next week, and then I'm going to wait 2 weeks and plant some more. Wait 2 weeks, plant some more. We're going to see how far I can push this envelope, because if it warms up too fast, I risk short, unusable stems. So let's plant the rest of these tulips and get the job done. If you've never planted tulips before, they, for cut flowers, go in what we call egg carton style. So you can plant them as close as you can that they're not touching, which when you're fighting for space, that is a huge thing. So we're just fitting them as close as we can without them actually touching. And I'm really hoping that this year does great. I hope I don't lose nearly as many last year. Last year, I lost well over half of my tulips due to tulip fire and deer and rot. But this year we have learned. We are being smarter, and here's hoping that it pays off. I really hope it pays off. And when you're planting tulips, if you're planting a lot of them for farmers market, selling to florists, it really is recommended to have a flower cooler because you're going to need a way to store these tulips. I have 2 spare refrigerators. I still have not bought the 3rd refrigerator that I think I really need. All of the tulips I'm planting today came from Jake, whose Facebook group is called Wholesale for the Small Scale Grower. If you are just starting out, he is a really great option. You don't have to buy thousands of tulips to save. You can buy 100 tulips for a really good price, and he will ship them out to you. You just need to go to the Facebook group, Wholesale for the Small Scale Grower. Follow his instructions and be patient. Sometimes it can take a month or 2 before you're accepted in the group. And I would highly suggest, if you haven't joined yet, doing so ASAP. Just wanted to mention real quick that these tulips have been in my refrigerator by themselves since October. Tulips need to be below 45 degrees Fahrenheit for 12 to 14 weeks to get enough chill time. So either order pre-chilled tulips or store them in a refrigerator by themselves for 12 to 14 weeks. That way they get enough chill time and will bloom properly. It's done. Here is, let me get out from the front of it, big, beautiful bed of compost and tulips. This is a good compost I bought back during the summer. It's just been kind of sitting up. It's what I had left over, so I didn't have to spend more money to build this. You're noticing probably that it's overflowing the top of my post that I put in. So I made sure to layer a lot on top to make sure that if any does flow out, it's okay, and I've got plenty more I can stack back on top of it. It's a good 4 to 6 inches above the tulips, and hopefully a horned Jenny love, these should pop out really easily when it's tulip time. Normally I would water these in, but we're supposed to get rain tonight, so I'm gonna let that water it in. If we don't get rain, I'll just water it in the morning. Not a big deal. All right, thanks to YouTube magic, let's fast forward a few weeks or a month and see how this is working out. It's time to check on our tulips. So as you can see on this bed, this was planted in January, the first week of January, and it's doing great. This was planted the last week in January and the first week in January, and there's no action yet in this bed, but let's take a closer look at this bed. As you can see, we've got tulips. They are coming up beautifully in this bed. Now there is one little section off to the side that doesn't have anything popping up yet, but I'm sure it's coming. But I'm just so excited to see these all popping up. Today is February 25th, and as you can see, the tulips that we planted in January are blooming, and I have actually been harvesting them since the 20th, February 20th. A lot of these are mixes, but I love this no-till method because it makes it a lot easier to pull these up by the bulb. So some of these are actually past time to be pulled, so they probably won't do as well just because we've been so warm. We had up to 80 the other day, and when you're that hot, the bulbs just tend to pop open and bloom before you can even get to them. So now let's harvest a few of these tulips. I'll show you how easy it is to pull them up, what you're looking for before you pull them, and what the bed across from me that I planted in February looks like. I'm actually planting more tulips today. This will be my last batch of tulips to see what happens with them. Let's pull some tulips. So this one right here is way past when you want to pull it. This is way too far along to be pulled and last. It'll still make a beautiful cut flower. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it. And I don't know if you just saw how easy that was. It was nice and easy. But I do like to pull them by the bulb. So let's find one that you would actually pull at the appropriate time. This one right here, you can just see the color starting to appear. This one is good to pull. So I'm going to grab it at the base, I'm going to wiggle it, and it's going to pull up by the bulb. So this was just, I believe this is the tall tulip mix I ordered from Jake, but you can see the difference. Just a hint of color, fully bloomed. This is way too late to be harvesting, but it'll still last a little bit in the fridge. You just have to be extra careful with those petals. But for the longest face life, you really want to do it at the crack of color. Let's get to harvesting the rest of these tulips. As you can see on this side of the bed, these pink tulips are way past bloom time. Look how short that one is. Way past bloom time, and that's okay. And I'm harvesting these in a soda crate, or a bulb crate does great as well. I have learned I like to put them in this to carry them out and get them nice, good, and cleaned off and let them dry in before putting them in the fridge. Yeah, these got away from me. Uh-oh. So this one snapped. With the no-till method, so far what I've loved is the fact that the bulb easily comes up with it majority of the time. But what do you do with these flowers that the bulb snapped off? Believe it or not, you can still store these dry. They won't last as long in the fridge. I maybe get a week or two without the bulb. With the bulb, you get like a month. But I can still store these dry. Maybe I can go to the market next week and they'll do just fine. All right, right here, you see that crack of color? Right when you see the crack of color is really when you want to pull these bulbs. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this one. This is the ideal, what you're looking for. This will allow for longest vase life. We're just gonna kind of wiggle a little bit, get it out. I like to tap it just to kind of get the excess dirt off. Some of these are mixed, so it's a little harder for me to know what's what. So I think next time maybe I will order specific breeds just so I have an idea of what exactly the tulip should look like and a better idea of when to pull. So this is the tulip bed I planted about 2 weeks after the one that I just pulled. And you can see I've only got a few tulips right here. But that's because, once again, it's a mix. And these may be, later blooming, and that's why they're not there yet. But I still have a few popping through the surface, so I'm not panicking yet. And I've got a few throughout the bed that are coming up as well. It's just all in the timing of the tulips. And thank goodness that they store for like a month in the fridge with the bulb attached, because that'll allow me to have the most bang for my buck. And hopefully be able to allow my customers to have more tulips later throughout the season. When they do start coming up, I like to start watering them at least once a week, giving them a nice good soak. That should help elongate the stems, is what I'm told. And sometimes when you end up with short tulips, it's because either we warmed up too quick, which is the case with some of these, or they didn't get enough water. With tulips, you don't really want to water them except for the first time when you plant them. And then again, once they start coming through the soil, you'll start watering them weekly. You don't want them to be too wet because they will rot. Look at all the tulips. Okay, so now that we've pulled all the tulips, we're going to take these to the hose and rinse them off, let them dry, and then store them. With the bulbs attached, they'll be good for a good month. There's no way I'm going to market with just these few tulips. So as they bloom throughout the week, in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to pull them and store them in the fridge until I have enough to justify selling at my market. Because I sprayed the leaves, I'm giving them just a little shake just to get any excess water out. And I'm just going to lay them on this towel for not long, maybe 10 minutes tops, because it's colder outside than it is in my house right now. And I want to keep them as cool as possible until I get them in the fridge. But I also don't want to store them wet. If I were to store them in the refrigerator like this, completely soaked, we're going to end up with mildew, and it's going to be gross. So you want to make sure you can get them as dry as possible before storage. If I was storing them for a few days, it wouldn't be an issue. I'd cut off the bulb and just soak it in some water. But because I want to store them as long as possible, I've got to try and get them as dry as I can. One more thing I'd like to add is that you will notice it's not a sunny day. I would never leave these out in the sun. If it was very sunny, I would take these at that point and throw these, wipe them down with the paper towel, and get them in the fridge. I hate this, but this is going to be good footage, so it's going in the video. There's a spider in the freaking tulip. Oh. I'm about to vomit. No, throw up. Okay, we gotta get this on video. Please don't jump on my camera. I am terrified. Do y'all see that? Its web is in there. I sprayed it with water and it's still there. I need you to get off. Go away. Go away. Go away. Ah! Go away. It's hanging onto the dang web. Ah! Why won't you? Ah, don't go in the floor! Don't go in the floor! I promise you, do not. Don't go in the floor. Oh. Okay. The spider lived. It didn't die. It's somewhere on the ground. I literally was pulling back the webbing, thinking it was like caterpillar or something. Oh no, it was a freaking spider cocooned up in there. Oh, hate spiders. Tulips are dry, and now for storing them, I use these. I absolutely hated these sleeves when I ordered them. I ordered them my first year flower farming, thinking I would use them for bouquets, and what I learned was you can't see the flowers in these. I don't like them for bouquets, not my market bouquets anyway, but they are the perfect solution for storing tulips dry in the refrigerator. Florette normally wraps hers up in newspaper. I use sleeves that I bought and didn't want. And I like to store them by color if I'm not having a mix, if I've got more than one color. Let's pull it through. There's the bulb. There's the flower. And I'm just going to feed them through like so. So now our crate is full of tulips. And they're all nice and divided up. And we're going to go throw them in the fridge. I apologize for the bad lighting in here. So soda crate, great for carrying around, not so great for storage. I'm going to use a regular bulb crate that the tulips came in to put the tulips in. Not much room right here, but let me show you a few things. So this one is just a few days in there, and you can see it kind of doesn't look all that great. This one hasn't been in there for about 3 days. This is scary. This to me is the scariest part about tulips. But this, even with the bulb attached, would look like this. This is why we store them like this. When it's time for market, you will see me cut off these bulbs and put them in water for 24 hours. Also notice I'm laying them nice and flat in here. I'm about to put the ones that are too many that are down here. I'm about to put them in the bulb crate to keep room in there, and I will stack them as we go. But this will keep for about a month like this. And now, thanks to YouTube magic, let's fast forward to when I'm ready for market so that you can see the whole process of getting ready. It's time. It's time to finally show you what these tulips look like when you take them out of the freezer after they've been in there for a week. It's a little scary. So today is Friday. I have my farmer's market tomorrow morning. And instead of trying to rehydrate these tonight, with a chance of them being ready for tomorrow, I like to give them at least 24 hours. And I will honestly be cutting it close at 6:10 a.m. I woke up at 5 so I could try and get everything I could done before I have to go to work. But what we're going to do is, first I'm going to show you these. Is that not the scariest thing ever? So this is one without the bulb attached. It will still bloom. The thing is, though, I'm going to need to take several of these and wrap it tightly in some paper, because if I put it in the water like this, it's going to rehydrate, but it needs to be upright as it rehydrates, or you're going to get curved and weird looking stems. So I'm going to set these three on the end. I mean, just, that is so scary to me. It always freaks me out. Okay. Meanwhile, I'm going to take these that have already been wrapped. This one still looks good. And because they've got the wrapper, they're not as bendy as the other ones. And it's going to help keep them straight. And we are going to snip off all these bulbs. All these bulbs are going to go in the trash. Some of these wraps I didn't pack as tight as I could have. And for those, I'm just going to kind of bunch it around a little bit and add a nice little rubber band to help it keep its shape. Pull this down just a little bit. I'm going to get rid of this leaf that's poking out. There we go. And we're going to throw this in the water. So bucket of water, tulips, and I'm going to pack several in here to make sure that they all stay. So I'll continue to do that with the rest, and then I will show you what they look like tomorrow morning or tonight whenever they're fully hydrated and not so scary looking. Alright, I'm going to remove the wrapping I put on the tulips. That was just to allow the stems to rehydrate and hopefully rehydrate straight. A moment of truth, y'all. Beautiful. Majority of the tulips rehydrated beautifully. I had one or two that did not have the bulb attached, that did not rehydrate properly. They were just completely limp by the morning. The tulips I planted in late January through February did not do well. I got maybe 10 blooms out of the 500 I planted in that bed. I think this is due to us being unseasonably warm this winter, and also because we had a ton of rain. I never really had to water those tulips in that second bed because we got so much rain. I think some of them just rotted and we were just too warm. So I think I'm just gonna stick to planting in late December, early January for now, and Rustin will just have to enjoy the tulips when I have them. Before you go, if you enjoyed this video, you're gonna enjoy this video about 10 things you need to know about growing tulips in the South. It's nice and quick, so be sure to click it right here and I will see you there.